I had caught COVID for the first time January last year, and it really sort of got hold of me. I mean, it was that bad, without building it up too much. On the Tuesday, I felt that bad. I really didn't think I was going to see the weekend. I thought, if I go sleep, I'm not going to wake up, and that's going to be the end.
Yeah.
And when they say that the life flashes before you, every time I did shut my eyes, I was getting a vision of when I used to go fishing with my dad when I was 5 or 6 years old. And that's all I could see every time I went to sleep, like my childhood sort of flashing between my eyes. I managed to sort of get rid of that after a week or two, and it took me 10 weeks before I could actually go out and start running again, but by which time it had already damaged my lungs, and I were like sort of suffering, and just had to basically, it was either stop running or try and get myself back into some sort of condition.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Running Tales podcast. This week's episode was recorded live at Northampton Parkrun, and our guest was the voice you just heard, Pete Vickers. Now, Pete is a parkrunner, marathoner, ultra runner and charity fundraiser who didn't run his first Northampton Parkrun until he was 55 years old. He's now run the London Marathon twice, 2 of 3 marathons altogether, and a 35-mile ultra. And he's done all that despite suffering from 3 bouts of COVID, the first of which left him feeling that he might even die, and which still leave him battling with his breathing at times. Along the way, he's raised money for a host of charities and made friends at every corner, aid station and finishing line of his many runs. This is my conversation with Pete, and I really hope you enjoy it. Pete Vickers, welcome to the Running Tales podcast, and we're at Northampton Parkrun today, which I think is really interesting because that's kind of where your running journey started, wasn't it?
It is, yes. I did my first parkrun on my 55th birthday, and I'd only got intentions of doing one. Today has been my 157th.
Did you come along and love it from the start, or was it, why on earth am I doing this running thing?
No, basically, when I used to work on the buses that used to come up here on a Saturday morning, I've seen a load of runners on Saturdays when I was driving up and down, and one morning I got stuck down what is now called Brian's Corner, and I said to the bloke stood over there, which I now know as Brian, I says, "What's going on, mate?" And he says, "Northampton Parkrun." And I said, "What's that then?" He says, "Just Google it, as you do, and look it up." And I looked it up and I thought, oh great, I can do one on my 55th birthday, never done one before. And that's basically the start of history, as I say.
Yeah, but it wasn't, or I think at least, it wasn't just that you hadn't done a parkrun before, you hadn't really done any running before, had you?
No, not really. I'd sort of scrambled up Mount Snowdon. I'd done the Lamberris Path twice. Once for cancer research because my mum was diagnosed with cancer, but she's now all clear and that's all sorted. And I did it once after that for dementia, which my father's now got. And that was basically my running entitled running up a mountain twice before I did my first parkrun.
Oh, it's always a good start to go up the mountains first, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy parkrun straight away?
Yes, I wasn't sure what to expect. I did the first, like I said, I did the first one and got chatting with a few people, and you sort of got more and more involved. And I thought, oh, I'll come and give it a go and have another go. And I come and had another go, and like I say, met some brilliant friends like yourself and Michelle and everybody else, and it's just fantastic. The people that you meet that are always supporting you, nobody puts you down. It's brilliant.
Because I know you've gone on, and we'll talk about what you've gone on to do, but parkrun's really at the centre of everything. You're now doing your regular pacing for people. How good is it to be part of this community?
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, my PB's 28:52, I think it is, and pacing 35 minutes, because at 35 minutes you've got a lot of people that normally don't get encouraged and have somebody to chase, like the 20 plus minutes. Yeah. You've always got the pacers at 20 to 30 minutes for the faster runners, but you've not really got anybody for the slower ones. I mean, I get great pleasure out of people sort of doing a PB at 35 or 34 and things
Well,
like
30
that.
thought today you were too fast.
Yeah. It's like Liana said, that I'm still in sort of long distance mode and just plodded along and didn't take a lot of notice of my watch, basically. But yeah, these things happen.
Yeah. You mentioned the long distance word there. So you got into your park run, and at that point, at some crazy point, and I'm not quite sure exactly how this happened, so I'll be interested to learn, but you suddenly started doing a lot of half marathons.
Yes, well, basically, it first started. I did my first park run in April 2017, and then I think it was towards the end of the year, I did a 10k at the racecourse, round the racecourse, which was my first 10k because I enjoyed the 5k, and I thought, let's try a bit further. So I did my first 10k, which was that one. Really enjoyed that. And then I sort of 2018 I did a few more 10Ks as well as 5Ks and what have you, and I'd also did the Northampton half marathon in 2018, and then over the winter of 2018-2019 one of my best mates, Mrs. she's got cystic fibrosis, and she, laughing and joking, said that how she hates us healthy people and things like that. And I thought, how can I get my own back? And I thought, I know. I got in touch with the cystic fibrosis people, asked if I could do a few half marathons for them and raise some funds for them. They said, that would be amazing. Let us know which ones you're doing and sort the kit out and everything for you. I was basically planning on doing sort of 3 or 4 throughout the year. And when I'd sat down and looked at all the ones I wanted to do, I was up to about 25, 26 half marathons. And I thought, can't really do that, not just yet. So I managed to narrow it down to 12. And I thought, some of them are a bit close together. So I narrowed it down. And then in 2019, I did 10 half marathons for cystic fibrosis, sort of round and about the local area. And that was that.
Yeah. And how did you find jumping from park run, I know you did the 10k before, up to half marathons, and a lot of half marathons, particularly, and I don't say this to sort of try and do you down, but you didn't start running properly till you're 55, so you're not doing it at 25.
No.
Did you find that sort of transition quite tough, or did the legs just sort of go, hey, I was maybe always meant to do this?
I quite enjoyed it actually, and I found it quite relaxing, but the thing was, I didn't set myself too high a target to start with.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked out my 5k time, which at the time was about 32 minutes, I think my PB was at that time. And I thought, 4 park runs gives me about 2 hours, just over 2 hours. And I thought, add another half hour on. I thought, if I can do half marathon in 2.5 hours, I'd be happy. The 10 half marathons I did in 2019, all of them were between 2 hours 25 and 2 hours 28, which was in the ballpark, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you have a favourite?
Not really. I mean, they're all pretty good. I mean, one that springs to mind was the Leamington Spa half marathon, which I did, which was really enjoyable. And the rugby half marathon that I did as well. That had got a nice long hill in it that you ran up it twice. But because for some unknown reason I've got disliking for running up and down hills, it was sort of enjoyable and just got a nice steady pace and enjoy it.
Yeah, well, we're a bit of a weird, unusual breed here in Northampton because obviously we're kind of right in the middle of the country, and as a general thing, people think it's fairly flat. We're not in the Yorkshire Dales, we're not in Cumbria or anything like that, but it's a sneaky little pace. There are quite a lot of hills, and you end up having to do hills all the way around here, don't you?
Yes, I mean, where I live, to go on a run, I have to start by going uphill.
Yeah.
No matter, I've got about 5 directions I can go, and each one involves going uphill.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not really flat, but it's good.
Yeah, I see you're wearing your amazing Northampton Run T-shirt today. I've got mine on as well, actually.
Yeah.
We're twins today with that. But there was loads of people doing that from outside of Northampton who were like, I thought this was going to be flat. What are all these hills about?
It was relatively flat. If they'd have done it when we had Pink Hill in it, like for the previous 4 years that I did it, it was flat considering... sort of compared to that, yes, it was really flat.
Yeah, for podcast listeners who don't know, Northampton Pink Hill is a huge hill which was about on mile 7 of the old marathon before they changed the course route, and it's otherwise known as lovely things like Bitch Hill and things like that.
Yeah. It's got some not nice names, that hill. Yeah.
So the half marathons happened, and actually I just before I move on to your next stage, I wanted to mention that you say you did that for cystic fibrosis. You'd also mentioned you'd done stuff for cancer research and for dementia. I mean, you quite often do your longer runs, your longer challenges for charities, don't you? How important is that to you?
I get great pleasure out of, if I'm going to go and do a run, I might as well sort of try and get something out of it. I mean, it's like you say, I've done cystic fibrosis. I did, running down dementia, Alzheimer's. I've done Asthma UK. This year, I'm doing brain tumour research for the 3 half marathons, which I've done 2, which was Northampton and Leicester. And then I've got the Milton Keynes Winter Half on December the 10th, which will be the last one. And my close work colleague, who is the one with the brain tumour, is hopefully going to be there at the finish to make it extra special.
Yeah, that would be lovely to have them come home and watch you finish.
Yeah, it will be. She said that she's going to try her hardest to get there because she lives in Milton Keynes. She doesn't have to come out too early to she'll sort of track from the start time around about 2 hours 15, and then it gives her 15 minutes to be there for roughly when I get there, hopefully in 2.5 hours.
And does that sort of thing keep you going in that when you reach mile 10 of a half or mile 20 of a marathon, because you've done those, we'll get onto this in a minute, does thinking I'm doing it for this course, for this person, does that help you? Does that give you a bit more mental fortitude?
Yeah, that gives you the mental strength to grit your teeth when you sort of really feel like, why am I doing this? You sort of think, I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for this charity, benefit the charity. And that sort of gives me that pick me up, and away we go to the finish. But, yeah.
And it hasn't just been half marathons. You've gone on and you've done... How many marathons have you done now, Pete?
I've done 3. The first one, which was Michelle got me into, which was the Peterborough one. That was supposed to be for a training one, and just to see how I liked her, whether I liked him or not. And we enjoyed that, and it was quite good because I had Michelle chewing my ear off for 5.5 hours because I wanted to do the marathon in a 5.5 hours time scale. And I was suffering with calf cramps from about sort of 5 or 6 miles into a 26-mile run. Yeah. It's not fun. And with Michelle chewing me ears and kicking me backside and pushing me on, we actually managed to finish the marathon in 5 hours, 29 minutes and 56 seconds, which was 4 seconds under the time I wanted to do, so I can't really complain.
That's good pacing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good pacing, yes, and it was like having Michelle sort of pushing me and keeping me going, which, like I say, everybody encourages you to keep going.
And then you did, I don't know if it was your next one, but you've done this little one in this place, what's it called, London?
Oh, yeah, London, yeah. Yeah, that's quite ironic, that one, because it was the last day before the ballot closed for the 2021 London Marathon. And for some unknown reason, because I'd never really been interested in entering it or anything, I thought, oh no, I'll enter the ballot. I thought, I've got no chance of getting in, because you hear of people that have been 10, 15, 20 years with even out getting into the ballot. So I filled it all in, emailed it off, and sat there waiting. And it come through, and I thought, oh, I'm in. So that was like the first shock of actually getting in. And then I had the pleasure of having to tell my wife that I was running the London Marathon, because she hadn't even known that I'd entered the ballot.
How did that go down?
She says, really, you're doing that? I said, yeah. She says, oh, yeah, okay. And she was fine with that. I mean, she does support me quite well, like with giving me the support that I need to go and do the training runs and get on and get it over and done with, sort of thing.
Yeah. And did you love it? Did you love London?
Absolutely amazing. Really, really good. The crowd, I mean, it was like the first one sort of after the COVID scenario, and they told all the people around London not to gather along the course in big groups. And it was absolutely amazing. For the old 26.2 miles, most of it was sort of 20 people deep in crowds both sides of the road, sort of shouting and cheering you on. And because I always run with my name on my vest, like for the charity, hearing them shout your name absolutely picks you up and carries you over the finish line, sort of thing. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people need to be told that it's a fantastic event, but it just really is. And I haven't done it, but I've been to support people doing it, and I don't think you can see it on the TV, but until you're actually there, you don't appreciate it, do you?
No, you certainly don't. No, I mean, people had said how good it was, and you're thinking, no, it can't be that good. It's better when you're actually there and hearing, like I say, all the crowds for the 26.2 miles shouting and cheering you on. Absolutely an amazing experience. One that I'm glad I've done.
Definitely. Not such a great experience. You mentioned the C word a little while ago, and COVID is something which you've kind of suffered with a little bit over the last year or two, isn't it? And it has affected your running quite a bit, and that's kind of something you're coping with now with your breathing and so on. Do you want to maybe tell people about that sort of part of it? Because I think, like, first of all, obviously it's a challenge that you've had to face, but secondly, which we'll go on to, it's not stopped you.
Yeah, I mean, with my job, because like working for National Express and driving people around, I had caught COVID for the first time January last year, and it really sort of got hold of me. I mean, it was that bad, without building it up too much. On the Tuesday, I felt that bad. I really didn't think I was going to see the weekend. I thought, if I go sleep, I'm not going to wake up, and that's going to be the end.
Yeah.
And when they say that the life flashes before you, every time I did shut my eyes, I was getting a vision of when I used to go fishing with my dad when I was 5 or 6 years old. And that's all I could see every time I went to sleep, like my childhood sort of flashing between my eyes. And I managed to sort of get rid of that after a week or two. And it took me 10 weeks before I could actually go out and start running again, but by which time it had already damaged my lungs, and I were like sort of suffering, and just had to basically, it was either stop running or try and get myself back into some sort of condition. And with a lot of hard work and what have you, like doing the non-park runs with Michelle and the training and what have you, sort of got me back to sort of where I am now. But in June last year, I had it again, and that knocked me off my feet for about 6 weeks, 8 weeks the second time, and obviously did a bit more damage. And then I was sort of getting sort of some fitness and breathing back under control, and then having done the Northampton half marathon 2 weeks ago, I then went down with COVID again between sort of the Northampton half marathon and the Leicester half marathon, and that sort of knocked me about again and sort of affected my lungs a bit more. But hey, just keep gritting my teeth and putting one foot in front of the other, and as long as I'm breathing, I will keep going.
Yeah, and we were talking before, weren't we, that is kind of the thing, that when you start motoring a little bit more, the heart rate goes up.
And then you can't get the oxygen in to bring your heart rate back down, and the only way to do it is to slow down. Yeah. And which means it's not what I want to do. I mean, I'm trying to get as close as I can to 2 hours for half marathon, but at the moment that looks a million miles away, basically. And I want to get under an hour for 10k, and like I say, with how things are, that ain't going to happen in the near future either.
But people listening to this shouldn't think that you'll be ruling it out, and they shouldn't rule it out themselves, because in the middle of all this COVID illness, all this sort of hard times, you went out and you just thought, I'll just go and do my first ultra.
Yeah. That was something different. Yeah. I did enjoy that. Yeah, I mean, I sat at the beginning of this year. I thought to myself, what can I do this year? And I sat down and I looked at a few of the races and events, and I looked at one and I thought, do I want to do the Milton Keynes Marathon? And I thought, no, I've done 3 of them because I got in the second time ballot for London in 2022, so I got through twice in 2 years, which is my luck gone for the rest of my lifetime, I think, with the London Marathon. And so I'd seen the Shires and Spires Ultra Marathon, which fairly local, and it's nice and hilly, and I thought, that's a challenge, I'll give that a go.
It's nice and hilly, and how far?
It's 35 miles, yeah. It's quite good. I mean, they give you a cut-off of 9 hours, I think it is. And I managed to do it in, I think it was about 8 hours 48 or something or other. So, yeah, I was quite happy and achieved it, and I've already entered it for next year, so I shall be out there doing it again next year.
Yeah. But I mean, Michelle and I came down and watched you finish that one, and obviously your wife Teresa was there as well, and it was quite a sort of emotional finish, wasn't it? Because by the last couple of miles you were struggling a little bit with your breathing, but you sort of just kept going and getting over that line. It must have meant such a lot to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a stubborn old bugger. I will admit I'm a stubborn old bugger, but I don't let things beat me. I mean, I will find a way. It's like with my lungs and my breathing at the minute. I will find a way around it, and I will keep going. I just don't like losing, full stop.
Yeah. Good for you. And just to finish off, Pete, I mean, we've spoken a lot about running, and I can sort of we speak about running a lot, don't we, anyway, outside of this podcast, but you do absolutely love it. You've really found something that has become such an important part of your life. What is it about running that's become so important to you?
It's the friendship of all the people that you meet. I mean, you meet people, I mean, there's quite a few people that I met when I did my first couple of half marathons that I've seen maybe once in the last 5 years, or twice maybe. But you keep in touch through Strava and all the social media things, and that's like say they all support you. You just sort of make friends and stay friends, and it's just a great atmosphere. I mean, it's like when I did the interview for the brain tumour research that managed to find half a page spread in the Cron and Echo, the local paper, and all over the internet. It's like I says to them, it's one of the only sports that you can participate in where nobody puts you down. If you're struggling, faster runners will come by and say, come on, keep going, you can do this, which is great. Whereas some things you get like, oh, get out the way, you're holding me up, and things like that. With running, there's none of that at all.
It's a slightly different way of competition, isn't it? If you're playing a game of football against someone else and they're better than you, they're probably not going to say, come on, keep going. They're going to beat you 10-0. In running, they're going to encourage you.
That's it. They encourage you to keep going, because I find the running, it's not a race against everybody else or a battle against anybody else. It's a battle internally with myself. I mean, it's like with the ultra. I'd done three marathons, and I needed the next step up the ladder, and I thought it's pointless doing another one because I've done 3, so we'll just go for the ultra. And like I say, it really is sort of a challenge within yourself and not against anybody else.
Fantastic, Pete. I think that's a really nice place for us to finish. Thank you so much for joining me today on Running Tales podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of the Running Tales podcast.
Thanks again to Pete Vickers for joining us on this week's Running Tales podcast. We really hope you enjoyed Pete's story and that it inspires you to get out running yourself. If you did enjoy it, please give us a positive rating or review wherever you listen to Running Tales. And also, please do check out our Substack, runningtales.substack.com, where we have written versions of this podcast as well as lots of other news and stories from the running world. Thanks again for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you again on next week's Running Tales podcast.